In the Pacific Northwest, we love the outdoors. We have a proud tradition of getting out into nature and doing that, camping, going to those lodges. But guess what? The word is out, people are pouring into the area, and there's a lot of pressure now on every natural space in the Northwest. You've got to book those lodges months in advance. You got to get tickets to see natural wonders that you just used to walk up to. In fact, most of those lodges and public places were built about 190 years ago in the Pacific Northwest. Since then, we haven't added more lodges or more public land, but we have more than quintupled the population of this area. How will our public spaces hold up to the strain, and how will they evolve to stay relevant to the new economy and the new population we have here in the Northwest? I visited a place that I hope is the future, Suttle Lodge in Deschutes National Forest near Sisters, Oregon. Suttle Lodge has been there on Suttle Lake for 100 years, since the 1920s. And although it's been part of our portfolio, if you will, of beautiful public spaces that long, the building itself has burned down a couple times. The new version was constructed in 2005, and very recently, about 2017, it was taken over by a group that had made a name for themselves doing cool and trendy hotels in Portland. Here's what one of the designers said they were going for. We wanted it to feel like you were spending the weekend at your rich stoner uncle's lakeside bachelor pad. There were a lot of cocktails and coffee imbibed while we were working on this. I don't have a rich stoner uncle, but I guess rich stoner uncles have really cool bachelor pads because this is a cool place to visit. The lodge itself has been touched up. You've got the dark walls, you go in, there's a big mural, and you've got vinyl ready to play on the turntable, craft cocktails ready, and I ordered a miso pork chop that was like 4 inches thick and juicy all the way through. Talked to the owner, he said that that's because they brine it, they smoke it, and they use sous vide. I mean, this is delicious stuff, above what the elegant meals would be in a lot of other national forest places, including national parks, which are run by a national concessionaire. This was really good. On the other hand, that means that you get some weird reviews, like I looked up, where somebody's complaining that the most expensive bottle of wine was only $70. You're in a national forest, but it's that tension again. Who is this for? Is this for families, or is it for hipsters? Is it for the bougies or the people? Because remember, this is public land, and it is supposed to be for everybody, and there's already a very well-established aesthetic in our national forest. Do we really need to reinvent it? Having checked the place out for a while, I have to say, though, I think that this is both for hipsters and families, and it's good, and it's probably the way we need to go. Probably more important than the lodge, or at least more of a central focus in this resort, is the boathouse. The boathouse is got the classic campground store, which I love, right? You can get all the Coghlan's gear, you can get the matches you forgot, get your Advil, but because this is Suttle Lake, you can also get your nitro cold brewed coffee for Dad once it gets too hot and he still needs, yep, more caffeine. The prices are reasonable. You can get delicious chicken nuggets that are better than the other chicken nuggets you may get. And, you know, you can get your $400 custom Pendleton blanket. They are hitting the high notes and the affordable notes, and I appreciate that. I especially appreciate the glass jar full of dum-dums that my kid made great use out of. 25 cents a pop, put your quarter on the table, and everything's great. What makes this aesthetic, what makes this place just a little bit different from what it was before, what every other National Forest lodge is? I've heard it called urban minimalist nostalgia, but what it really comes down to is labeling everything either with black letters on a white background or white letters on a black background. We're talking the showers, the restroom, the boathouse itself, all very clearly labeled. The signage follows the same pattern. Do you want to do yoga? Here's the yoga sign. Next to the boathouse is the clearly labeled rentals area, and This is not really a fishing lake from what I can tell. I tried to fish it, but it was extremely windy when I was out there in my kayak. You don't see a whole lot of poles out there. Instead, what you see is a disturbing amount of stand-up paddle boards. It's not my thing. It appears to be everyone in Oregon's thing. Okay. There are families here, plenty of kids. We had just one of ours, the youngest, with us, but there were other kids there. There was staying in the cabins, the rustic cabins, which we'll talk about in a minute. Every single group had a dog with them, and that was cool, you know. It's nice to bring the pooch along. The resort is not packed, although, yes, you have to reserve well in advance to get into this place, as we discussed earlier. Even when full, completely full, even on we were there on a Tuesday, and suddenly people started rolling in. We thought maybe it'd empty out. It did not. Yet, it does not feel packed, it doesn't feel frenetic, it feels mellow, which is what you want, right? There is a much more crowded public beach nearby. Obviously, this is all public land, but the people who are paying to visit the resort are off in one area, and right next to it is a day use area on Suttle Lake, and it is jam-packed with paddle boarders. Because our cabin was near the entrance road for that place, I can tell you that if you get there really early in the morning, it's nice and quiet and empty, but by noon, the parking lot is full, it's jammed up, people start parking kind of inappropriately, blocking things, taking up cabin spots, and yes, the state patrol shows up to start towing people. That's that pressure we mentioned earlier. In the evening, because we have established this is some sort of amazing Oregon paradise, you have music out on the lawn, and you can sit in your strap chairs, which again isn't a big difference from your average Costco lawn chair, but it definitely changes the atmosphere. You sit in your old-fashioned strap chair like we had when we were kids and listen to the Hillbilly Groove Band out on the lawn, and it's pretty cool. Not every place here is rustic. Most of the houses there are houses. They are big houses in the woods, and I would not call them rustic at all. They just seem like big houses in the wood next to a lodge. However, we stayed in the rustic cabins, and anything without a thermostat or a bathroom inside is rustic these days. They're still pretty cool. I think they're probably original to the property, or at least they're much older than anything else there, and it is nice that they'll let you bring the dog along. They have unlimited numbers of white hooks everywhere. I think they teamed with a Portland furnishing maker called Schoolhouse to do really cool minimalist stuff. But everywhere here, there is a hook for anything you need everywhere. Another little touch that seems to weirdly add up to a different vibe. The bathrooms aren't great. You are in a national forest, and let's face it, that is not the best part of a national forest experience. At least they're not pit toilets, but there's a bathroom near the public beach that is. And then there's the bathhouse, right? The clearly labeled bathhouse over by the lodge, which is much less used, is much cleaner, but I still saw people complaining because it is like a public restroom that's getting a lot of use. And yes, there are frogs in the shower. I think they're cute. Other people find that disturbing. Maybe the way to wrap this up is to point out the string lights over the campground area. Those rustic cabins we were talking about where you have the fire pits out front, they ran your classic Costco string lights over there. Was that there 50 years ago? Absolutely not. Does it help you stargaze? No. But it is strangely transformative. It's kind of magical. It takes a space that would be essentially unchanged for a long time and makes it feel like, wow, I am staying in a really cool place. And I think the kids love it. It makes it easier for them to get around. And frankly, what we're talking about here is making memories for the new generation of Pacific Northwesterners, helping them feel connected. I hope they come up with great magic memories of Suttle Lodge and do what they can to preserve that beautiful part of the world for the next 100 years.